All right, let's break this down. We got a couple pairs for the week of October 17 through 22. A lot of pound pairs, gold, dollar index, Japanese basket, which is basically the Japanese yen index. Look at this pound yen. It has just been crazy. I mean, how many pips? Past 2 weeks, he's done 700 pips, which is quite a lot, and it hasn't really pulled back. So we're obviously going to be expecting to pull back, and a lot of people, including myself, thought it actually might be able to pull back last week here when it started stalling. We made the 3 taps. We started moving sideways, and then it just shot up another what 250 pips, and we've actually broken. Yeah, I think that's the high right there, 156, which is where I thought it was going to stop at. We went to 157, and we're halfway through 157. So looking at this chart, let me zoom out a little bit. Looking for a pullback, I would expect it to go to the previous structure level right here, these highs. And with the fib drawn on there, it also lines up exactly with the 0.618 fib. I'm starting the fib right here. So let me just redraw it so you guys can see. Fib tool. So we got the pullback, and then we go to the top of the push, or where it is right now. There's obviously always a chance that this can go higher, then the fib will be adjusted. But if we're going to reject from here, that's where the fib will be. Hold on, let me draw that right. Okay, and then it just miraculously lines up perfectly with the structure levels. So in my opinion, just based off the flow of GJ and the fib, if we're going to pull back, 153.5 essentially is where a good target would be to where it's going to pull back, because 700 pips almost nonstop, even pulling back 400 is totally doable. I mean, you can see these drops here. 300, 350, 400. So I'm really only watching this on the lower time frame, because I think if we're going to drop, we're going to respect this weekly high right here. That's why I have this level marked, because this is the high of last week. So based on how we play the weekly candles, I think we're either going to come up here and test this high and stay within it, or we're going to just come up here and wick above it and reject back in. So I'm going to let this market give the chance to try and break this again, because this is a lot of bullish pressure. So if it's going to drop, it's probably going to come up and make this high, and then because of that bullish pressure, it's going to come up and try to test it, and then if it fails and it rejects, then we're most likely going to go down. So I'm just looking for the structure basically between these levels right here. So the week high and the structure level right here. I'm interested to see, like, we broke these lows right here. We made this lower high on the 30-minute. I would love to price to come back up to 157.4 basically, and start rejecting that level again, or like I said, tap above it and come back down, because on the weekly, that would just give this weekly candle a little bit of a wick right here that we can enter on the top of, and then a nice pullback. I mean, even if we go half of 50% retracement of this previous candle right here, this large candle, let me draw that on there. Change the settings. Entry at the top when it makes the wick. I mean, that's still 220 pips. And then you got the full, 400 pips from here. So it all depends if and what price does when it comes up to this level. Hopefully we can. Um, the other circumstance would be is if we just immediately start moving down and we don't come back up to test these levels. At that point, I would just look for price to come back up into these highs around here, around when market's opening, because we're still in the first, around the second 30 minutes. So that means market opened right here. So technically we have made a little bit of a wick for this week. So we could dump, but if we do that, then I think we're going to come back up to these levels at least. If we aren't going up here, we at least would come back up here and give time for the banks and us to get in this trade. Actually, where is that 50%? Oh, this is the 50%. Okay. Yeah, so this would be target one, basically 155. As it starts approaching 155, start closing the position and then leave some partials for 153.5, basically. So once it starts, once it starts coming down into 153.6 in this area, start closing. I was looking, now I gotta go back and find it. Right here. So see, price is pushing up here and it started stalling and it made the 3 taps right here and then it just shot up, broke these highs. It went way higher than these highs, which is kind of like what's happening right now. And then it stalled and dropped. And same with over here as well. We pushed up and fell. So if we can get something similar to this, how it's very overextended. I mean, how many pips is this? 500. So we're at 700 right now without a pullback. This one was 480. So I think we will get some sort of pullback. We just have to make sure it was not able to break this level because, there's always the chance that it's just going to keep going up, but it's more likely to pull back now than it is likely to go up. Let me zoom out for you, get a good overview. That's pretty much it for GJ. It's pretty simple. It's just overextended market, waiting for the structure on the lower time frame to give us the confirmation to enter, basically. Swiss franc. So we had actually a pretty good entry. It came up to these levels and it just held this support right here better than expected, and it came all the way back up into these highs. And if you look at the opening candle, it shot up. How many pips is that? 47 pips already. Now some of that is spread, but none of the other pairs are doing that. So it's pretty interesting to see how it shot up above that and actually wicked and rejected above this level. That's showing a lot of rejection. So it'll be interesting to see if this hour closes with that. That's how it looks on the hour. Big wick. Because all I wanted for this pair was to come back up into this area and reject. But if it's going to do that immediately with the first candle, it might have grabbed the liquidity to just not spend as much time there as expected and start falling over. It just all depends. To me, we're still in this downtrend because we got this high right here. This is the previous low, right? And then we dumped and made this lower low. So let me mark these actually. Then we made this high right here and then a new lower low. And I really thought we were going to sell from here last week, but it didn't happen. And now we're up here, which just gives us more room, more pips. This is going to be the first target. This fib is drawn. Let me delete it and redraw it. I started right here at the bottom, pull it to the top of the zone. That's the path. Let me get the right one. And if you would notice, it lines up really well with all this support right here. So let me just highlight. I'm going to start right here. Just notice how every time price comes into this area, it got support. So, is it coincidence that that's also the fib? Who knows? But that is the first target, which is 128 pips. Close however much you want to close out of your trade then, and then leave some because we're probably going to at least touch these lows down here of 1.251, or we're gonna break this low. Okay, break this low and then come all the way down here, which is the previous daily low, all the way down here, which would be a couple extra pips, 30 extra pips. So we'll have to see, if we get that sort of pressure and that sort of momentum. I like lining these up perfectly. So I like how we wicked above this zone and not just like to the top of it, because this right here, this wick just took out all the stop losses that were placed right here when people started shorting right here, which is probably why we're rejected so hard, because it filled all those stop loss orders right here and just dumped. So I'm going to be watching this pair quite a lot after the first hour and a half, just to see if it starts getting a lot of sell pressure, because now it really doesn't have to spend a lot of time up here because of that strong rejection. So I'll be watching it on the 10-minute. I'm going to let some more candles form. Let's see, it is 5:43. Probably give it like an hour, hour and a half, and let it kind of chill out and see what structure on the 10-minute time frame, that hour and a half or 15-minute time frame, with that hour and a half gave us. And something similar with the pound USD. So right here, we obviously didn't make that lower low, but we have these highs, and then we have this low, and then we have this very large pullback all the way up here. Made this high, stumbled a little bit and absolutely dumped. Now we're down here, made this low. Okay, we tapped above 1.375, basically this support right here. I actually had these levels marked. So I was really looking for the structure within these two levels. Well, let me change that. Right here is why I'm putting this level right there. And this, it's just kind of an average of like the wick in these levels. So when I'm looking at this, I'm looking for similar to pound US or pound JPY. I'm looking for structure to change right here. However, if we break above that, we might spike into these levels of like 1.38. So for this week, I'm keeping these levels in mind, and I'll be watching it on the lower time frame at 30-minute to wait and see if we make the higher high and then the lower low, or if we start making a lower high, lower low. So just watching this structure, wait for it to turn bearish. As soon as it turns bearish on the 30-minute, we'll go to the 10-minute, look for an entry. It'd be nice if we can respect this high of last week right here. I'm actually going to move that to the top right there. So this is the high of last week. Similar to pound CHF, it would be nice to see it respect that high, but if we do spike above it, that's totally fine, because that's natural. It happens all the time, and it'll give us a couple extra pips. Target is the fib, of course, which clearly lines up with these structure levels right here. Or, of course, the double bottom, the full swing, the 360 pips. clear downtrend. We're not really lined up with the fib. Right here, respected it. And I don't use this often, but where is it? That's a little bit above there. So we're in between these levels of these fib levels, which are, I normally just use this, but this is also respected to 0.786. So that's really what I'm looking for with this pair, just structure as we approach these weekly high, the previous weekly high, see what it does within these levels. As soon as it starts turning bearish, we look for the entry, first target and second target. And then gold. Let's see the daily. I actually have not broken this down. I was quickly looking at it with Sean, but I haven't spent too much time on it. But I do know we should be able to get a good trade out of it. Let me just mark these lows right here. Mark the highs. So to me, like looking from here to here, this is the recent move that we're trading. We tapped 1800 and rejected that pretty well and absolutely dumped on Friday. And I'm gonna go to the small time frame. So we got this structure low right here. And we have this support right here that isn't as clean because of that NFP spike. However, it's been clean with here with these wicks. With this kind of wick to the point, blasted above that and turned around, and now we're back down here. So I see a buy coming, but at the same time, before that, we could see a sells. I'm really picky with gold. I like waiting and getting the best entry possible in a buying instance, at the lowest point possible. And I would love to see price tap into these lows of like 1745 before we make the move up. I think it'll be a clean swoop, maybe a drop, a little bit of a chop, and then we continue up. But that depends on the dollar index, which is kind of an interesting place right now. It's been rejecting 94.5 for September 30. We made a double top, tested it again, rejected it again. But we're also showing some respect from 93.8, which we have over here as well. So we're back into this area that is giving a lot of support to the dollar. Obviously, the fundamentals with the dollar has a huge impact. USD news can drastically change the direction of this. But currently, just with price action, we've hit this and we pushed up, and now we're kind of like swooping and stalling. Okay, a lot of wicks, nothing really going on. I mean, we've been pretty much completely sideways since October 14th. So if we see the support here, that will help drive gold down to those levels of 1745. And depending on what the dollar index does when it comes back up here after it driven gold down, we could see dollar index become weak up here again, making a triple top, and that would allow us to hit the buys from 1745 all the way back up here. That would be a solid 540 pips. So playing gold, that being said, if we're going to sell, this level right here standing out to me, 1775. Let me clear that. If we're going to do that, so before the buy, if the dollar index is going to show a strength, I think we can come up here to 1775 if it holds as a resistance on the 10-minute or even lower, like 5-minute. If we start seeing a rejection, we get a good entry, then we could enter sell with a target of 1745. Probably partials at 1750, just because that's a psychological level. And if I make this a little bit more clear, it is a support. So there's two things that can happen with gold. You know, we can catch a sell here, 300 pips down, and then 550, 540 pips up. Honestly, if gold is going to rocket up like that, it's probably going to break 1800 even. So we might even see 1808, right? Very well respected at 1808, or we're going to come all the way back up to these highs, 1830s. But I think if we're going to reach 1830s, we're definitely going to have a few more opportunities in between the way, kind of like right now with this. So that's my outlook on gold. I think we get a possible short-term sell, well, 300 pips, but and then we can see the buy up to the high right here. Target definitely right here. I mean, 500 pips is plenty of pips to close. You can maybe hold some partials if you wanted the long way up. It just depends on the price action here. I mean, if it just blows through this 1800, just explodes right through it, then yeah, don't close yet. But if it starts slowing down or has trouble, then just close it, take the money off the table. And to link it with the pound yen trade, the basket, super weak. And we have a little bit of news coming. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Tuesday after market opens. So just after the Wednesday candle opens, we have export year over year and balance of trade for September. The consensus is negative 520. And the last time this came out, it was negative 635. Now, the higher the number, so positive, the better. They are expecting it to be better than last time. And if it's better than they are expecting, that's like a double bonus. Good for us because it'll be better than last time. It is going to be better than they expected. So that would be positive for the yen. And that's a high impact. I don't pay too much or attention to medium, but that would help bring this down and this up. I think we're gonna have support right here. If we do go up, basically 9,100 and possibly all the way up into these highs of like 93. So it just all depends, you know, what happens. So just a quick recap. There's not too much today. Probably a little quicker than normal, but here we go. So sells down into the fib, partials at halfway point of this daily candle, right? So the day started right here. Hold on. Which one is it? This one. So all of these candles are one day. 50% retracement is very likely, which is around this level. But I do think we're going to come all the way back to the 0.618 fib because that is this very clear structure level, this kind of breakout of this channel right here. So I would definitely hold partials all the way to 153.4. So we'll just wait and make sure that price can't fully clear this high. If we do clear it, that's totally fine, but I would love to see it start rejecting, right, and making that wick. because I think if we're gonna retrace this week, it's gonna use a majority of the candles this week to go down. I don't think it'll stall and shop around that much. I think it'll just go. But yeah, it might spike up first, but then I think if it's gonna go, it's just gonna drop down. It's not gonna waste any time. And maybe after it drops down, it starts stalling around and maybe it stumbles from the halfway to the 618. But I think that initial drop will be pretty quick. Unless we just keep going up, which would be kind of crazy, but it can happen. And this one, real quick again, we're tapping into these highs. The first 10 minutes of market open this week, it blew above here and started to reject. And now we're about to close the hour with that rejection. So I want to wait an hour or two and see what that 10-minute structure looks like in 2 hours from now. And then similar idea. Let me change this. I like them perfect. There we go. Same thing with this pair. So we're looking to see potentially come up above last week's high, which is right here, and make that wick for this week and not take too much time up there and then start dropping down to the fib. But most likely the full swing, the low 1.34s. Partials here because obviously 220 pips, you got to capture, you got to take some off the table with that. But 360 pips is the full potential bag. So let's keep some on there for the whole bag. Just watching that 30-minute. And then, yeah, the gold sell. We'll see if we get respect from 1775 from the sellers and move down to the low and then get some respect from the buyers and take that all the way back up to the high. And then just real quick with the cryptos, because just a minute ago it was dumping, but it retraced 100% of the dump. I'm not talking about this little candle up here. Look, now we're back above it. If this hour closes all the way back up here, that was just liquidity grab. Ripple got smacked. That's a pretty big wick right there. Probably everything. Besides Darrow. Darrow's a boss. I don't know about the tech of this crypto that much, but if we analyze this, let me just draw this. Hold on. You already see it? Good for you. This could explode soon. We might see new all-time highs, honestly. If you're wondering what crypto you should be buying right now, I would possibly just buy some of this. $33% gain. We probably make a new if we're gonna explode, we're probably gonna make a new all-time high. So it'd probably be, up there, 50%. And then I think we got one. This is the only trade I'm holding from last week. We got a real nice sell entry right here. Yeah, pretty flawless. I mean, that's really clean. We came up, we made that high, and then that's what I was talking about last week on the Zoom. Where's my drawing tool? Or the week before. It's coming up and then it'll make a high and then it'll boom and just make that lower low. And then when it makes that first lower high, you can take the entry right there, which is what happened here. We broke this low, came back, made this lower high, which is this part. I entered think it was before swap, which is 17. I think I entered one of these rejections when it started pushing on the 10-minute. That was the entry right there. And it's pretty much just been moving down ever since, which is nice. On the daily, it was completely overextended, kind of like pound yen. And you know, that pullback was due. The full target is the fib, which is why I'm still holding some, but we did hit the initial first target right here, which is why I closed some of the trade. So now it's just holding some of the partials to the fib. And once it hits the fib, close everything, and then it might be a buy from there. It just depends, like, are we gonna, like, is this the pullback and then we're gonna continue? Or is this the new, you know, the new pressure, make the higher low and then continue up? So there's two scenarios really. But even if this is going to continue, you know, maybe hold a very small amount of partial after it hits this, but just take the money. Because if it's going to continue down, it'll probably hit this fib and then come back up here and then sell from here. So it's all, that's another 200 pips. It all depends. Or it's a buy from here. We'll just have to see what type of strength New Zealand dollar has or odd has. Either way, it's either side is 200 pips. And this was what? This is 100 and something so far, and then yeah, 200 if it can reach the fib. That's it for this week. I will screenshot these and send them to you guys. That way you just have a picture of it in case you want to look at it or something. Now look at that. That is a lot of sell pressure. I wonder what the spread is right now. Let me open my phone real quick. 4 pips. That looks different on my phone. So that's just on a Wanda, man. See, that's why you always got to look at your MetaTrader before you make actual decisions, because same pair, different broker, and this is completely different than a Wanda. It's completely different than, this is what my broker, no, that's not even what my broker looks like. They're all different right now. But yeah, that's why it's important to look at your MetaTrader. So I'm definitely going to wait because all the brokers look different. On Osprey, my broker, it didn't make that spike. And on, obviously, you just saw on the other ones, it didn't either. And actually, on my broker right now, this current candle is a pin bar, like a bullish pin bar. So that don't make no sense. We'll just wait it out. All right, that's it, guys. I'm gonna stop this. I'll send it to Sean. We'll get it on YouTube and we'll get the screenshots.